Great stuff. So today we find ourselves in Balcombe, visiting one of our fantastic customers, the Half Moon Inn. I'm sat with Nick, who handles the day-to-day running of the pub. Pleasure to be with you again.
Nice to have you back.
Yeah. So Nick, how long have you been in Balcombe, and how did you end up taking over the running of the lovely pub?
It's quite an interesting one, really, because it was originally the Half Moon was under the control of one of the big pubcos, and as often with these things, they weren't investing in it. It was becoming run down. They were struggling to get anyone to take a tenancy there, and so it really was going to close. It was going to close, and the villagers could see that. It's the last pub left in the village, and they didn't want to lose that last asset. So they clubbed together. They got what is called an asset of community value, which gives them first shout to be able to try and buy it and maintain it as a pub, which is what they wanted to do, and indeed what they did. They formed a limited company. They sold shares. I think there's something like 324 shareholders.
Wow.
And they raised the money they needed. There's a small mortgage involved as well.
Yeah.
But the running of the pub and the rent that it creates now covers that, more than covers it. So what happened was they eventually managed to buy the pub, but then it was a case of how are you going to run it? Are you going to get the village to take it in turns? This doesn't work. Companies have tried that before. And so through a brewer that was a mutual friend, they got in touch with me. I just sold my last pub in Kent at that time, didn't have anything on. Came down and spoke to them and really liked what they'd done, was very impressed with how they'd done it, and liked the area. It was a good area. There's a really good feel in Balcombe. It's really one heck of a community. It's a tiny village of a little over 2,000 souls, but it's vibrant with clubs and associations. There's a very popular cricket club there. They run 3 sides on a Saturday, 1 on a Sunday, a couple of sides in midweek, massive junior section every Friday night. So there really is a great community feel in Balcombe. And I said yes. I decided that, we'd take this on. The pub was in pretty poor state of repair in the public areas. The community association that bought it had decorated upstairs. So we closed it for about 5 or 6 weeks, refurbished, and then opened with much fanfare because, of course, the village had been working hard to try and save the pub. They'd succeeded in that, and of course, we're ready to come and celebrate with quite a few drinks at the bar.
Yeah, of course.
We're very food centric. The pub's been here for, nobody knows exactly, but certainly over 200, maybe 300 years. There's certainly records going back that far. Balcombe's quite famous for its viaduct, which was built in the 1800s with something like 11 million bricks, I think, which were brought in by barge from Lewis on a specially constructed canal.
It looks lovely as well.
Yeah.
It does look lovely. I always pass it on the train or whatever you always
That's
see.
right,
Yeah.
that's right. In fact, they built a pub down by it just to service the people that worked on the viaduct.
Really?
In those days, long gone now. But that being low-lying, didn't have a cellar.
Yeah.
This being a high spot the village did, and this is where they brought any of the bodies that died during the construction. So the cellar was also a morgue as well as keeping the beer in those days.
Yeah, there's a good bit of history there about the pub, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Balcombe is quite widely known because of that. And in fact, it's become wider known since COVID.
Of course.
There's a lot of people who are coming out to the country to get out of city problems, and that was one big attraction.
No, you're exactly right, and that sort of brings me on to the next question: is how did you sort of survive through COVID, and how did lockdown affect you guys? How did you come out of it strong?
Yeah, again, I didn't have the hardest lockdown, I've got to admit. Because there's so little in the village, we've got the fantastic Balcombe stores next door run by Gemma Lewis. And she was absolute stalwart through lockdown, doing everything she could, delivering to people that couldn't get up to her and so on. And what we did with the pub, we furloughed all of the staff, except the chef and myself, and we turned it into a takeaway. So we completely changed our menu. We just did takeaway style food. So we did burgers, we did fish and chips, we did curries, we did pizzas, and it was great for people to be able to come out quite legally, come and collect their food. Interact at a distance with some other people.
Of course.
We've got the 2 doors, we could have an indoor and an outdoor, and they brought their own bags. So I didn't have the hardest lockdown, and Yeah, and we, we didn't make much money, obviously. We weren't selling any drinks and things. Although we did do some packaged cocktails.
Ah,
But,
this is more up my street.
Yeah,
Bit of booze.
yeah, we had some great twists from a local guy called Tom Fieldhouse, such as we had a peanut butter and jelly old fashioned instead of just a straight bourbon old fashioned, and Sussex by the beach instead of Sex on the beach and things like this.
Yeah.
And,
How'd they go down?
they went really well. We just put them in pouches, delivered them through people's doors.
Amazing.
It was all good. It was all good.
So it's a cocktail with your burger.
Yeah,
That sort of night in. Sounds like one of mine now, to be honest.
Yeah.
So what makes the Half Moon in Balcombe so special? What is the attraction? Obviously you've got the fantastic locals, the store next door, which is brilliant. What makes the pub itself the go-to?
We've had a lot of publicity because it is Sussex's first community-owned pub. But what we try and do is be very local centric. We either produced or sourced in terms of our produce from the kitchen to the bar. I mean, in fact, this is a great example. That the Rathfinny wine. This is we don't have champagne. We don't have any French champagne at all.
Yeah.
We've got this great Sussex rosé brut from Alfriston.
Yeah,
the Rathfinny estate there.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
tastes lovely.
Get
as
it
well.
here and you can get it in the Ritz.
Wow.
So
That's good.
yeah, we have our cask beers. We've got Harvey's from Lewis.
Yes.
We've got the Lake Down bitters from Upfield, the Lake Down brewery there, which is run by Jamie Daltrey, the son of Roger Daltrey of the Who.
Of course.
And I think his beer's better than his dad's music, quite frankly.
I agree. 100%. I mean, you've got some great local business there, haven't you? You are supporting
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And that makes a big difference. People are going to appreciate that, and they will try it, they will give it a go, and more often than not, they prefer it.
Yeah, and the other thing that Balcombe's got, which is astonishing, for a tiny village, we're on the main Thameslink line, which runs from Brighton through London into Bedford.
Of course.
So we get a lot of walkers, particularly at weekends. They come down from London or up from Brighton. We've got the reservoir here, we've got the Balcombe Lakes. There's lots of great walks that people can take their dog round. We're very dog friendly, which is another big plus in the country. You need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
If you're coming here, your dogs are welcome. In fact, some of them are better than customers.
Most, eh?
No, we can't say that.
So obviously you have a lot of events that we hold here. With Kyco, we've advertised a couple of them. So you've got cheese and wine nights and so on. Can you tell us a bit more about the events that brings people out to come and see what's happening?
Absolutely. One of the big ones that we've done since we first started, there was sadly, good for him, but Charles Metcalfe, who's a world-renowned authority on wine, particularly Portuguese wine, has left the village to move to Portugal now. But Charles has run various wine tastings for us. Going back to lockdown, we did quite a few online. So we would ship 3 bottles of wine to anybody taking part, and then everyone would join us on a Zoom call.
Brilliant.
And Charles would take them through the tasting.
That's
and
amazing.
It was great watching people sort of degenerate from quite interested and asking civil questions to 3 bottles later and an hour later. Degeneration into giggles, and it was just an online party, really.
That's great dynamic business. Do you think about that? I mean, a lot of businesses I speak to, they've never thought about doing wine tasting online, but it's such a great idea.
Yeah.
Such a great, in the comfort of their own house, they're enjoying their wine, they're learning about the wine, and they've got an expert on the call with them.
It was great. I mean, but through that, we ended up doing one for a company that was European wide. I think they had about 130 of their employees on it across Europe.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And good fun. Really good fun. So Charles, although he's in Portugal, he comes back every now and then. Every time he comes back, we'll put a wine tasting on. We did one, not since February actually, it was the last time he was back. We did one on Portuguese wine that time. Each wine's accompanied by a small dish from the country that sort of celebrates the wine.
I imagine it's incredibly popular and it sells out.
It sells out very quickly. Very quickly.
Which is great. What other sort of events do you have on?
We
obviously host the Euros.
I mean, with the TV stuff, we've got the Olympics this year. That'll be big, of course. Yeah. We've got the Euros on, as you rightly say, at the moment.
Games nights?
We do. Funny enough, it's just in the last couple of weeks. A new member of staff, Mickey, she used to work in the pub before I was here, and she's come back to join us, which is great. And she's just been introducing on Tuesday nights, because we don't do food Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
Some people have been starting to play backgammon and chess
That's
and
good.
drafts and all sorts of things going on.
Yeah.
And that's just proving really popular.
Yeah. Bring your own games, have a couple of drinks.
Bring your own, we've got plenty here as well, so whatever takes your fancy.
No.
We'll just sit, drink and watch.
Yeah. For me, that'd be my choice. I don't think I could play chess after a bottle of wine. Give me a bit.
I'm not sure I could play it before.
True. So in relation to kyco and sort of the services we've been helping you out with, we've got a lot of technology we've implemented in this lovely pub. For instance, the dynamic QR tags that you see
Yep.
at the table, the digital loyalty cards which are going at customers'
Absolutely.
afterwards, and obviously the Wi-Fi data capture. How have you found like the modernisation and embracing of all these different technologies?
Yeah, people are so used to using their smartphones now that it's a no-brainer really, and even people that haven't eaten here much before, they're still desperate to collect their stamps on their
Yes.
phone every time they come in and drink, and it's definitely increased business. The footfall's greater. People are comparing how many stamps have you got. And,
It becomes more of a competition with
yeah,
each other.
absolutely, and people are using them quite readily. We've also got the backup, as you know, of a manual card, much like you get in a coffee shop or something. But I'd say over 90% working on their smartphones, and the data capture is great because it gives us an advantage, as you were saying, in that when we're targeting people for any events we're going to hold, we know that they know where we are. We're not just throwing it out into the wide social media and hoping it hits. We're targeting people that have been here.
Exactly that. I mean, you know what it's like these days. You go on Facebook, there's a picture of a dog, family member, then there's the pub.
Yeah.
You know, whereas an email is one-to-one in their inbox.
Yeah.
They're going to read it because it's about you. And that
Absolutely.
shows in your open rates.
Yeah.
Your open rates are 60%, which is 3 times the industry average.
It is.
And
That's just us, isn't it? Great.
yeah, and that shows exactly how respectable your customers are of the business. And
Yeah.
that they want to hear from you. They are opting in. They don't want to unsubscribe. They want to know all about your business, and that shows the community feel that you mentioned at the start.
Yeah, and I think the unsubscribe rate is a real telling one. We're not really getting any.
None.
So,
Barely any.
you know, that's great. That means that we're not hitting people too often. We're not boring them with things. We're not giving stuff that they're uninterested. We're not flooding their inbox. So, you know, the longer we can keep that at zero,
Yeah.
the better.
Exactly.
And you know, and we've briefly touched, you and I, on the fact that we're soon to be opening the Jolly Tanners in Staplefield, and we'll certainly be installing kyco straight off.
No, appreciate that. Really do. How have you found the kyco support? Obviously, we have WhatsApp chats, dedicated phone lines, and so on. Obviously, you have myself and Anna in our personal chat.
Yeah.
How have you found like the response rate, the engagement, the proactivity of the report building?
100%. You know, it really is, because you're so quick at getting back to us, and because I often forget the sort of hospitality hours on other people's office hours, you know, I will just text you when something comes up, be it 10 o'clock at night, and you respond, and Anna responds. So the support's been great. I'd recommend it to anyone.
No, I really appreciate that. And that was coming to my final question. It's always a cheeky one I have to ask is, would you recommend us to other local
Absolutely.
independent businesses? And
Yeah.
you mentioned about us being installed at the pub to come, which is great, but the other local businesses as well?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, I think one of the big confidence boosters you give when you first came and saw me is the fact there's no contract. Pull out any time you like,
Yes.
because you know that once you've installed, people aren't taking it out because it works.
It works, exactly that. We believe in the technology, and we also want to give local businesses the full flexibility. We're not there like a Sky or whatever, where you're tied in for a year or 2 years
No,
with a phone
quite.
contract. We believe in what we do, and we love what we do.
Yeah.
And hopefully our customers can see that.
Yeah.
It does show, because our intention is 100%.
It is, yeah. No, it's, you know, that's just putting your money where your mouth is.
Exactly.
It really is.
No, really appreciate your time today.
No problem.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.